one other new thing is what we're looking at here. You recently changed to Mapex
I
drums.
did, yeah.
Which
Last
is
year.
quite a difference from the Yamaha
It's
stuff.
it's it's funny. It is a big difference, but the sound of this particular kit is very similar to the stuff that I originally started playing with Yamaha, which was probably recording custom and those things. It was a birch drum kit. It had a very punchy, big sound, but short and punchy. And the maple walnut combination of this is very similar to that. I mean, to me, when I first time I played it, I went, it's a 2013 recording custom. It's that drum set hasn't changed since 1970 whatever when it came out, really. So, but yeah, it was an updated version of it. It was a little bit more ambient, a little bit bigger, but it had the punch and the drive of it, and it had a shorter tone to it. And to be honest with you, I kind of learned a big lesson with that because, I was using like Phoenix and some of the really amazing drums that Yamaha was making at the time, and it was a very big sound, very wide open, very big, long, sustained. And, for all of us drummers, we go, the best drum sound is the most ringing, open, over, long, sustained. But it kind of crosses this line where the impracticality of it comes into play, and what happens is you end up with a sympathetic vibration on all of the toms. So when you're playing the kick and snare, all the toms are going, ringing, and you end up with that hum on tape. And the other thing it does is it puts a signal through all those mics that builds up, and things start to phase. So what I discovered was we had to start going through and erasing the tom tracks to get rid of that hum. And when I erased it, all of a sudden the phase changed on the kick and snare, and my bass drum sounded better. Things like that. So one of the things that happened to me, to be honest, is I got the first Saturn IV kit, literally one of the first ones, and we started to record this session for a Korean artist. And Jerry Watts, who's in Arrival, was on the session with me. And, we play together all the time, of course. And so we start the session, and I'm not going to come into a session and go, hey, guess what? I got new drums. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just be quiet about it and do my job. So I start playing, and Jerry, we go back to listen to the first take, and Jerry goes, what'd you do to the drums? And I was like, oh, no, here we go. I'm like, shut up, man, And he goes, no, man, I sound so much better today. And I'm like, what do you mean you sound better? He's like, yeah, my bass, man, everything's clear, it's just precise. And I'm like, what do you mean? And when we started to figure out what was happening was a lot of that sympathetic ring was building up and interfering with what he's doing on bass. So the Saturn IV, it's a big sound, it's a big open sound, but it's shorter and punchy. And it kind of gets in and gets out. And it cleared up that bottom end thing for me. Right. And Jerry's like, my bass sounds better in it. So it was a big learning experience for me. I started to go like, wait a minute, maybe the cats in the 70s and stuff, when they were drying things up and they knew what was going on, and we kept fighting it.
They went a bit overboard on the drying.
Maybe a little too much, yeah. They got a whole box of tissue papers, duct tape to, But the theory of it, you're going, okay, maybe I'm understanding that a little bit, but Mapex they're a great company, and they've been nothing but supportive, and I couldn't be happier with them. Great instruments.
You had a lot of signature products at Yamaha.
I did.
Any stuff like that we can expect from Mapex?
We are working on a lot of things. I helped with some design stuff that's just now coming out. When I first went over there, I wasn't a part of this because this was done right when I got there. But yeah, there's some new stuff coming. One of which is the Esquire snare drum, which is a snare drum that I've had prototypes for quite a while, and it's been final for a while, and it's going to come out this year. And it's a model that I spent a lot of time on, trying to find a snare drum that was a really good all-around drum that had a beautiful small sound, and what was required of it as a big sound. It's really hard with snare drums. It's snare drums and bass drums and ride cymbals seem to be the challenge. It's like you can't, you get the great ride cymbal that crashes and all that, but then it doesn't have the ping and the definition. you know, and the bass drum, it's like we were talking about earlier, like it's got woof and power and all that, but then, you know, there's no sustain, and, you know, it just sounds like a box, or you got too much sustain and now it doesn't punch. And the snare drum's the same. It's like I feel like some of them you hit it and it's got a big fat nice sound, and then but when you go to play it small, it doesn't get small. Mm-hmm. You know, it sounds like a tom-tom when you play really light. Or so the design of the Esquire drum, I think, is very unique. It's got a very innovative design in how it's put together as far as the rings and the wood and how the edges are done. It's never been done before. And we've been doing it for a while, and I'm really excited to hear. I love to do products because I love to see everybody else use them. I usually just do them because I want it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, the sub kick was like, I want this, you know, you guys make it for me, you know. Yeah, great, we sold it. It was successful, but
the sub kick.
Yeah.
Sold a lot of those.
It did sell a lot, yeah. It's I mean, they have one here in Sandlane.
Yeah.
You don't walk in, there's one. Every studio's got one.